Good morning, Tubaneros. So, the teabaggers are quite upset over Obama, of all people, waging class warfare. The hypocrisy of this charge is just laughable, because, of course, it's the Tea Party fascistoids, they're Neanderthal political hacks in high places, they're front men in libertarian think tanks, and last but far from least, they're corporate sponsors like the Koch brothers, the Coors and Walton families, as well as the DeVos clan, who have been waging it on working America since Reagan's days. To them, social welfare, equal rights for women, gays, and minorities, public health, the rights of workers to organize and strike, and capital gains taxes are all the same as communism. Reagan rolled back the latter globally, so they say, and now they're out to complete the movement domestically. Of course, it's the oldest con trick in the book, to accuse your opponent of the very crime you perpetrate on him. Their class warfare for the wealthy has, first, consisted of crushing the ability of working people to organize. This has been a standard operating procedure since the 19th century, but got a new lease on life under Reagan. Decimating unions in the private sector is now being complemented by destroying public worker organizations, or the attempt thereof. Complementing this also is the busting of America's high-wage employment structure to the lowest sustainable level outside conscript labor, without the job security. Their diatribes against the state have nothing to do with the freedom of the individual from mandatory seatbelt laws or decriminalizing pot, or any other postgraduate libertarian frat boy concerns. Their pseudo-anarchism is all about removing any public accountability or responsibility for the overprivileged. Deregulation of profits, of working conditions, of public safety and environmental laws is what they're about. Defunding social, that is, human spending, is to be achieved by dismantling capital gains taxes and income taxes in general, shifting the tax burden onto the working consumer by sales taxes, privatizing all functions for the profit of subsidized contractors who have no problem with socialism as long as they can make a buck off it, make that billions of bucks. Their goal is to keep you broke, half-employed, and hat-in-hand grateful for what little is thrown your way, burdened by debts you'll never pay off. You are to be a financial serf of the people you work for, whose stores you shop at, whose falsely appropriated products you consume, whose falsely obtained services you use, whose deceitfully contracted mortgages and bills you vainly try to pay off. Think I'm exaggerating? Well, for those of you who shop at Walmart or buy Valero gas or drink Coors beer or use Amway products or communicate over AT&T wired or Verizon wireless, keep in mind you are financially supporting the very entities that turn right around and use your money to fund politicians like Perry and Scott Walker or the plaintiffs in the Citizens United case that gave them the right to bribe. Just like supporting the master doing his work and making him stronger and richer only tightens the slave's chains, so too are you being used to wage class war on yourselves. So I say wage it back. Show them the true wages of class war by being proud class warriors, not sneaking assassins in denial. Give the teabaggers and corporate front organizations such as the American Legislative Exchange Council something real, not imaginary, to scream about like hysterical banshees. But, Azov, shouldn't we rise above such rhetoric and seek fairness and balance rather than polarization? Well, first let me take a shot of kvass. Good stuff. And then I'll put it like this. When the Nazi tanks come rolling through your quaint little village, the situation is already polarized. Sure, you can try to make the new Gauleiter installed by the conquering power see reason, appeal to his Christian conscience, his sense of justice and fair play. But I don't think you're going to get very far. The situation is already polarized. And your real dilemma is how you're going to handle it. Resign yourself to domination? Fine, if they'll just leave you alone. But the conquest is just the beginning. Like all bullies, they will continue to fuck with you up to the point of extermination while playing off your hopes and fears against yourself. It's this mind-fucking of victims that made the Holocaust possible, and it's being done in milder form to the American public today. For most of my audience, that means you. How to resist? So, well, we become partisans in the woods, dressed like jolly Robin Hoods or Che Guevara and grow beards? Well, revolutions happen only when there is no other way out, as Trotsky said, and those waging class warfare on us are doing their best to shut off all other avenues. But fortunately, a democratic state has the option of not requiring overthrow and replacement to achieve justice. All the mechanisms of righting these wrongs are in place. The problem is that they're in the hands of the wrong people. The outlaws are wearing the badges, and hard-working folks are being judged as thieves for thinking that what they've worked for should be theirs. The first step to action is consciousness. Shed the false notion that you and these people have anything in common but your common humanity, which they even deny. I'll get back to that in a bit. As a practical second step, I advocate the following government acts of class warfare to descend like a mailed fist forthwith. Tax capital gains. Tax religious organizations. Have special taxes on those who outsource American jobs to compensate for the social losses at home. And special taxes on contractors to reimburse the public for lost revenue and subsidizing their grafting asses. Also special taxes for offshore corporations and subsidiaries doing business in the U.S. or owning real estate here. That can be a way to begin the reversal of this class warfare. They haven't breached the gates of Moscow yet, but Hitler's metaphorical hordes are out to do the same to Washington if they can. We need a Stalingrad that will turn this war around and chase them back to the underground bunkers in which they spawned. Hopefully they will end their own lives in the well-earned rubble of their defeat. As to further courses of action, well, if you can remember those far-off Cold War days, the 80s is history. Jesus, I feel sorry for you tadpoles who can see that as historical legacy. Anyway, you might recall that these folks had no problem with class war being waged on their enemies, like the Solidarity movement in Poland. Solidarity was essentially the old labor strategy of the mass action general strike, which is still technically illegal in most U.S. states under criminal syndicalist laws. However, we got a taste of it in Wisconsin earlier this year, and there's no reason a similar, if not identical, mass insurgency could not be organized in the U.S. if we want it badly enough. The first step is to see society as divided between us and them. The them are those in power, with no illusions that they are our freely chosen representatives. They are an alien occupying power, and one will be free of them only when they are treated as such. They are making this very easy for us, as I stated a couple of minutes ago, by their own polarizing strategies. Grab hold of that other end they offer you and flip them with it. Because, make no mistake, it is a class war and you're in it whether you like it or not. There's no escape, any more than running away from the Fuhrer's tanks crashing into your home village. The richest, most powerful people in the land are in cahoots with the least principled, most self-seeking politicians since the Gilded Age. They are intentionally raping the well-being of the public at large and deliberately destroying America's democratic heritage. They have made the word liberal a political curse, and now even the name democracy is to be spat out of the lexicon in sneering contempt. Is this knocking upon my phone now? Hello? William Henry Vanderbilt, son of Commodore Vanderbilt. I remember you were the role model for Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, and the man who owned the New York Central Railroad. Your claim to fame was when you canceled an experimental high-speed service train from New York to Chicago, and when some silly reporter asked you, don't you run the train for the public benefit, you put him in his place, didn't you? How'd you put it? The public be damned. I am working for my stockholders. If the public want the train, why don't they pay for it? Of course they'd like to, but your descendants keep funding politicians who only want to cut the taxes to pay for it and cut off all public benefits altogether, to make the very idea as dirty now as it was to you. I guess the final solution is just to eliminate the public altogether, or as much of it as you can get away with. After all, the right to life is only for the unborn. The living can just get sick and go die.